What's up guys? Chances are you haven't heard of Shinobi, but this is actually one of the most overlooked games on the PS2 and a personal favorite. Once you get the mechanics down, this shit is fun, man. You play as a badass Shinobi who's the last of his clan in a kind of revenge story where you avenge your clan by slaying your former clan because reasons. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's got a good setup and an amazing atmosphere. When you get a little further into the game, you're introduced to one of the core mechanics of Shinobi, which pretty much makes the game what it is. So basically, your sword, Akujiki, consumes the yin of your enemies, and if you don't feed it the souls of your enemies, it continues to consume your soul, which creates a pretty good sense of urgency. Now, this isn't the only gimmick that drives you to play as an extremely mobile, fast assassinating machine, because the sword mechanic ties into the original Pate reward of killing enemies in succession. See, in this game, every time you kill an enemy, right, time is kind of frozen for them, and your sword becomes stronger for every enemy that you've slashed, until you manage to kill everything on the screen. This is great, because it combines the sense of urgency together with the reward of a successful kill streak, more or less. Now, I should also mention that getting a successful cutscene gives you greater rewards than when you normally kill an enemy. This, in my opinion, is one of the strongest suits of this game. Not the actual mechanic itself, but the fact that it's continuously adding layers of mechanics through smart level design and rewarding you for learning these mechanics incrementally. That is something I really like. Through this type of level design, it never feels like your hand is being held. Rather, you're continuously improving through your own thinking and playing, something I'd say a lot of games lack these days. For example, you see this enemy placed here by himself for some reason? This is actually a cleverly placed enemy. The game gives you an opportunity to feel it out and decide how to approach him. So, you learn that he defends from the front and he takes more hits to kill than anything you faced before. Now, keeping in mind how Akujiki gets stronger with every consecutive slain enemy, and that this particular enemy takes more hits than normal, the player has learned, without any semblance of handholding or lengthy tutorials, how to approach harder enemies in future scenarios. And this very same stage gives you a chance to try this out multiple times afterwards. Now, at this point, your instinct will be to go for the larger enemy last. Mission accomplished. Done. I know this kind of detail may seem a bit subtle and easy to overlook, but it really does put together a strong foundation for the game.
Perhaps this is our destiny.
So, you might be thinking, well, this makes for a pretty good hack and slash game. And you'd be right, it does. But I should probably mention that at its core, Shinobi is also in fact a platformer. Not in the traditional sense, but still, the platformer side of the game really does complement the battle system, and makes playing as a Shinobi that much more fun. You know, like wall running, dashing, resetting your dash by slashing something mid-air. These are all really fun mechanics, and the game does make excellent use of them. Now, if we take all these aspects from before and put them together, we're left with what the game truly excels at. This is where it really shines. The cleverly designed boss fights. Shinobi does have some pretty sick boss fights, and remember how we talked about the increasing layers of mechanics earlier? Ultimately, boss battles force you to make use of everything you've learned up to that point. I'm not gonna lie, the game does end up being pretty difficult, bosses included, but I personally love the old school difficulty and see this as a positive. In my opinion, I think bosses should always be at least somewhat difficult. I mean, why build up a boss fight only to have them crumble at a few button presses, right? Games should always strive to give you a sense of achievement by overcoming challenges. So all in all, I think Shinobi is a great game if you're looking for more of an old school action platformer. It was made in like 2002, but I think the game has actually aged pretty decently. Like, it's a really fun experience, and obviously the graphics aren't mind-blowing, but there's tons of replayability. Also, if you're low-key weeb, you'll enjoy it even more. No, but seriously, it's a solid game, and it was severely overlooked when it was actually released. I just wanted to share some of my love for the game, and if I gave it a critical rating as a PS2 game, I'd actually give it 8.5 out of 10. Like, I'd rate it higher, but the characters you unlock are kinda just respawn. The game actually has an amazing soundtrack, it has a really addictive style of gameplay, and the bosses are well designed. Pacing is almost perfect, except for a little bit of a difficulty spike around stage 6's boss, but it's nothing too major. Other than that, the game is amazing and has aged pretty well. Keep in mind this is as a PS2 game, because you can't really compare the graphics of a PS2 game to current generation games. Also, I'm aware that this game is completely different to the old school Shinobi, the originals, but I love it nonetheless. But yeah, the main bulk of the game is kinda short, it's really good for playing over a weekend. Check this shit out if you're out of games to play and want something that doesn't need a lot of investment time-wise. There's actually a lot more I could say about this game, but I think for now I'll leave it at that. And as always, thanks for watching guys, leave a like and I'll see you in the next one.